I'm supposed to be very fucking happy right now, but I'm obviously not happy right now. This is supposed to be my very first episode of 8 versus 16, 8-bit versus 16-bit. In case you guys don't know me, my name's JD Venom, aka Justin. You can call me wherever the hell you want to call me. You can just call me this very random black guy that you're seeing on YouTube or on Screwtech, wherever you see me from. It doesn't matter to me. I just encountered a little kid on the internet telling me that the Atari Jaguar is the greatest system of all time. I want to shoot his brains out. I want to shoot his brains out. But it's not about that. This is my first show. 8-bit versus 16-bit, 8 versus 16. This is going to be the greatest show in the history of the internet. This is going to be the greatest show in the history of the universe. You guys do not realize that yet, but it will be. I'm going to start off with a series that's very innovative. With a lot of great secrets, gameplay, music. I'm talking about the Metroid series. And we're going to talk about Metroid for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I'm going to be looking at the game's overall power-ups, music, enemies, gameplay, and I'm going to find out through my scientific research which one is the better game overall. Is 8 versus 16? Let's start off by talking about Metroid. The original Metroid was released for the Famicom Disk System on August 6, 1986, and was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System 1 year later in August of 1987. He played the role of Samus Aran, a bounty hunter who wears a fully powered armored suit with a wide range of items and weapons. Sounds pretty fucking cool if you ask me. Well, anyway, these items and weapons include beams, missiles, morph ball, bombs, and other tools to aid Samus in her journey on planet Zebes, or Zebes. It's been 25 years, and I still don't know if it's either Planet Zebes or Zebes. Anyway, Metroid was produced by Gunpei Yokoi, directed by Satoru Okada and Yoshihiro Sakamoto, and had the music composed by, you know what, to be honest, I'm pretty bad at pronouncing Asian names, I'm sorry. Let's just say that Metroid was produced, directed, and music was composed by 4 very awesome Japanese guys. Alright, we'll go with that. Well, anyway, Metroid is all about the exploration, secrets, power-ups, and is one of the most popular franchises in gaming for that very reason. It is so popular that gamers like us will try to complete the original Metroid as quickly as we can, and this became an art known as speedrunning. Well, this game is so popular that the original Metroid went on to sell 2.7 million copies. Not bad for the first outing. Wow, my Jack in the Box is still popping out of its shell. Oh, God. Well, great information about Metroid. Now, let's talk about a little bit about Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. Super Metroid, or sometimes known as Metroid 3, was released for the Super Nintendo in Japan on March 19, 1994, and didn't hit North America until the following month in April. Super Metroid was under development for 18 months by a majority of the same crew that worked on the original Metroid. You know, I'm not gonna say their names. You try saying their names, I'm not gonna butcher their names again. Super Metroid takes place immediately after the events of Metroid 2, where the leader of the space pirates, Ridley, steals a Metroid larva and takes it back to planet Zebes, or is it Zebes? You know what? Screw it. Once and for all, I'm gonna call it Planet Zebes. Screw it. Like in the original Metroid, you have to explore and search for your power-ups, including morph ball, missiles, and bombs. Super Metroid at the time, and still is, a quickly acclaimed game. For gamers, it always appears in the top 10 Super Nintendo games, and sometimes in the top 10 games of all time. Super Metroid wanted to sell 1.4 million games worldwide, but only 570,000 copies were sold in North America, which makes it a highly sought-after game for retro gamers. Man, I'm just glad I have one. I just had a religious experience because, I mean, just watching the footage from Super Metroid makes me want to go play that game again right now. Well, guys, let's get into it. This is 8 versus 16, and let's start off with the very first round. Let's talk about both games' power-ups. Metroid and Super Metroid both have very innovative and helpful power-ups to help your journey on planet Zebes. Haha, I said Zebes this time. Haha, screw you, internet. Well, anyway, in the original Metroid, you have access to your power-ups by gaining them in secret rooms. The original Metroid has a total of 9 different power-ups. Some of these power-ups include the Ice Beam, Long Beam, and Wave Beam. In Super Metroid has a total of 20 different power-ups, which is double the amount from the original. Some of these power-ups include the Ice Beam, Screw Attack, and also other beams as well, as like the Plasma Beam, the Hyper Beam, the Charge Beam, along with Super Missiles and Super Bombs. Super Metroid just has a wide range of power-ups that you can also gain access to, like the X-Ray Scope and also the Grappling Beam. In both games, Samus can gain access to the Various Suit, which cuts down Samus' damage in half. Wow, sounds like both of these games have some kick-ass power-ups. No, tomorrow's not good enough. You better have my money right now. I'm not kidding. If you don't have my money, I'll come over there right now and I'll screw attack your ass. You better have my money. God damn stinking. Oh, hey! Oh, wow. Well, obviously, Super Metroid has the greater power-ups. It doesn't matter what you'll say about the original Metroid. Super Metroid just has the better power-ups. It has more of the power-ups. It has better power-ups. So, round 1 goes to Super Metroid. Let's get into round 2. Let's talk about round 2, and let's talk about both games' music. Music in the Metroid series has become just as important as the gameplay itself. Now, in this particular section in round 2, I'm not going to be talking very much. I'm just going to let the music talk for itself. Now, before I get into that, I just would like to say that the original Metroid only had about 10 themes. It didn't have that many themes. But these themes in the game are so epic, you can't really dispute that some of these themes are probably some of the best themes of all time. For example, Craze Lair. Now, Craze Lair is good, but my personal favorite out of the original Metroid is Ridley's Lair. Wow, the original Metroid, the music in the game, it makes you feel so alone. It's eerie and nerve-wracking. I mean, it is one of the best scores in video games, period. Not just for the Nintendo Entertainment System, but just in video games, period, in my personal opinion. Super Metroid has over 15 themes. Now, more doesn't necessarily mean the better, and to be honest, I love some of these themes, but not all the themes in Super Metroid. Some of these themes, it just kind of didn't come off to me as good. But there are still some good themes in this game, nevertheless. Now, let's listen to a couple of themes. Now, let's listen to what I call the Brinstar Underground theme. Wow, that theme is freaking awesome. I love that theme so much. Now, let's listen to what I call the Norfair Fire theme. That theme is pretty good, but this is my favorite theme in the entire game, with the exception of the opening prologue and the ending credit theme. Let's listen to the Bryn Star Jungle theme. You know what? I actually worked out listening to the Super Metroid soundtrack. It is so great to work out in. You know, as much as I like working out to the Super Metroid soundtrack, I'm gonna have to go with the original Metroid's music in for round 2. Simply because it sounds more eerie, you feel alone listening to the music, and just Ridley's Lair and Craig's Lair themes is just amazing. Alright, well, round 2 goes to the original Metroid. Let's get into round 3, and let's talk about the game's enemies. The original Metroid at the time, probably along with The Legend of Zelda, had the most different types of species and enemies in a single game cartridge. In the original Metroid, there are over 25 different enemies. Some of these enemies are different variations in Craig's Lair and Ridley's Lair. And also, in the original Metroid, there are 3 different bosses. The bosses in the game are Kraid, Ridley, and Mother Brain. Nowadays, the enemy count in this game is not that much, but we are talking about 1986 people for an 8-bit system. It's the first of its kind, which is still pretty impressive for today. I just know that the enemies in this game is pretty awesome if you ask me. Super Metroid has 3 times as many enemies as the original, with over 75 enemies, with 5 mini-bosses and 5 main bosses. As of the original, it only had 25 different enemies and 3 bosses. Well, anyway, the bosses in Super Metroid were bigger, better, and better from the bosses from the original. For example, Kraid. Kraid in the original, he was just this annoying boss, and you know, he was just a little bit of a pest. But in Super Metroid, the battle was so epic, he was 1,000 times bigger than you. It was so challenging and fun. Speaking of epic, Mother Brain. Mother Brain in the original, you just shoot missiles at her brain itself. But in Super Metroid, not only you do that, you face her in her full form. And that right there, to me, is epic by itself. As for the namesake in this video, the Metroids are the most iconic enemies in the game. Although they are not bosses, they are easily the most powerful enemy in the game that is not a boss. These flying jellyfish will suck and drain your health like there's no tomorrow. They do not fuck around, let me tell you. Wow, Super Metroid has 3 times the enemies, has 3 times the bosses. I mean, Super Metroid just took Metroid to a house and just, ooh, if you know what I'm saying. This is a no-brainer. Round 3 does go to Super Metroid. Now, let's look at the 4th and final round between the 2 games, and let's look at the overall gameplay. In this 4th and final round, it's a no-brainer that Super Metroid takes the cake. Not just because of the limitation of the original NES controller, which only had the A and B and select button, but just the overall effect that you can shoot in 8 directions, smooth jumping, even the now known same side wall jumping that you can do in the game. But just something as little as a turbo boost button to allow Samus to sprint is just something that the NES does not have. Now, the controls in the original Metroid are good, but in Super Metroid, they're just even better. It makes you feel like you're Samus Aran. Well, Metroid, it's very innovative. I mean, you can do stuff in that game, but Super Metroid is even more innovative. I mean, you got the grappling hook, you got the speed booster. I mean, you got everything in this game. I mean, you can do the space jump. You can do the space jump without the space jump actual power up. You can do everything in the game. It's just so crazy. I'm like, oh, Super Metroid wins round 4. You know, overall, thinking about for both games, Metroid is a very good game. The original Metroid is a very good game, but Super Metroid, oh my goodness, is one of the finest games of all time. And without a doubt, Super Metroid won 3 rounds, the original Metroid won 1 round. The very first edition of 8 vs 16 goes to Super Metroid. Guys, that is it for me. If you like this video, please rate, please subscribe, please drop a comment. Let me know what you guys thought about this video, and I'll check you guys later. Peace out.